Hey everybody, welcome to Tones in the Den. Today we're going to be going over the Marshall DSL40 with both my Strat and Les Paul. Let's get into it. All right, this is Tones in the Den with Mike. Today we're going to be going over the Marshall DSL40 combo amplifier. Hopefully this video helps you make a decision as to whether this amp is for you. This is my first video, so please bear with me. I promise I will improve over time. All right, let's take a look at the specifications. To begin, this is a 2-channel amplifier. You have a classic gain channel and an ultra gain channel. Each channel has 2 modes, the red and the green mode. Also, each channel has a gain knob and a volume knob. But in my opinion, the best feature of this amp is the master volume knob. Now, as far as I know, that is not included on the DSL20 lines or maybe even the DSL5 lines. So there's a big, important difference between a master volume and a volume knob. The volume knob actually controls the preamp along with the gain. So that can affect your speaker breakup whenever you crank that volume knob. A lot of people buy the DSL20 thinking that the volume knob behaves the same way as a master volume, and it absolutely does not. It controls the preamp. The master volume, on the other hand, controls the power amp section, which essentially just controls the overall volume. The next part of the amp I'm going to look at is the EQ section. I'm going to try and superimpose a video of the front of the amp here. I can't make any promises, but I think it will help you get a better view. So, like most amps, it has your treble, middle, and bass knobs. So I'm not going to go into too much detail there because most people know how those operate. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. But one part of the EQ section, there's a presence knob and a resonance knob. Now, I had no idea what those did for months after buying the amp. I had a friend kind of set it, saying that those were good settings, and I left it. And it wasn't until I actually learned for myself that the adjustments I needed were way different. So I typed it out here just to try and keep my wording consistent. So the presence and resonance reduce the negative feedback in the power amp, and they try and make the power amp operate as linear as possible. So by turning up the presence knob, you're kind of tricking the amp into thinking that there's too little treble, and it essentially just increases the treble. And then the resonance knob basically does the exact same thing, but with bass frequencies. Another interesting thing is the effect of these knobs will increase when the output level is increased, where the regular EQ knobs, that is not the case. And then I'll just point to it here in case I can't superimpose that video. Right there in the middle of the amp, there's a tone shift knob. And what that knob does essentially is it scoops the mids. It's that sound, and I find it works best on higher gain settings. But there have been some guitars I use that I find they really do benefit from that switch. So you ever end up trying one of these amps out, make sure to try out that switch because it could make all the difference. All right, and lastly for the specifications, we have a 40 watt or 20 watt switch for power reduction. You also have a MIDI port on the rear. You have 5 speaker outputs on the rear. And this amp is equipped with a Celestion V12 V-type speaker, which is just, we got a 1x12 in here. And it has 4 ECC 83 and 2 EL34 valves. We have this 2-button foot switch where we have the channel selector and then the effects loop on the other side there. And this amp is pretty heavy. According to Marshall, it weighs 50.5 pounds. And then lastly, we have our reverb for the classic gain channel, and beside that, the reverb for the ultra gain channel. Okay, thank you for bearing with me this long. Let's get into some tones in the den. All right, let's get started here on the classic gain green channel. Let's add a bit more gain. All right, a little bit more there. Up the volume preamp as well a little bit. And I'll have to be turning down the master as I go because it's increasing the overall output when I am adding more gain and preamp volume. All right, we're gonna go to the ultra gain channel now, and just full disclosure, both reverbs are maxed. Oh, sorry, not ultra gain. Got to go to the red channel. Just dialing that gain back to about 11 o'clock. Obviously, you're going to get that single coil hum the more that I add gain. And here's kind of where it maxes out on the classic gain channel. All right, now we'll go to the ultra gain channel. And here's where the hum will get a little bit worse with the single coils. Got the volume at about 3 and the gain at about noon here. Add a bit more. Whoops. All right, now let's go to the red channel of the red mode of the ultra gain channel. Yeah, you can really hear that hum coming through now. Doesn't sound too bad with the Strat. And again, just double checked, that is max reverb. All right, let's switch over to the Les Paul. All right, got the Les Paul plugged in, and now we're gonna go back to the classic gain green channel. Add a little bit more gain. It's just at about noon right now. All right, let's go to the red channel of, or red mode of classic gain. Already a little bit heavier with those humbuckers, obviously less hum. Now this is cranking the gain on the red mode of the classic gain. All right, let's go for some ultra gain here. So we're on the green mode with the gain at about noon. Add some more gain. Maxing the gain on the green mode there. sounding. Now we're gonna go to the red channel. Dial that gain back. A little bit more gain there. Didn't know where I was going with that one. If you know that song, you're my friend. Now let's go all out, preamp volume and gain. That's another song that if you know, you're my friend. All right, and that was Tones with the Les Paul. All right, thank you for sticking around this long. I'll just give you my final thoughts to summarize. I absolutely love this amp. I've had it for close to 3 years now. I typically run it with a pedal board and reverb and delay through the effects loop. One of my cons about this amp is the reverb, so that's kind of why I have to do it that way. I just find the reverb is weak. It's not that it's a bad sounding reverb, it's just a weaker reverb. My other complaint would be you could probably hear the hum coming from it even with humbuckers. So I usually hook up to a Universal Audio aux amp top box. I bought it for the attenuator and the cab sim. I don't use the cab sim, but the attenuator is awesome and it takes away all the hum. So that's huge for me. You might want to look into getting some sort of a noise suppressor pedal if that hum would bother you. Otherwise, the channel select, that's my last con. If you notice, every time I switch the channels or modes, I had to tweak the volumes. And honestly, to dial in the tones I want to go for, I typically have to tweak the EQ settings as well, but I just didn't for this video to try and keep things consistent. Other than that, it's a fantastic amp. Like I said, I think the video kind of speaks for itself. Pardon my sloppy playing. If you came for wicked awesome guitar playing, this probably isn't the channel for you. I'm just a guy who loves guitar gear and just wants to talk to everybody about this hobby I love so much. So please drop a comment. Tell me what you want to see in the future, or maybe what you liked about this video, or questions about the amp. I'd be so happy to discuss them with you. I'd love to do a video on one of the 30-something guitar pedals, or do you want to see more with the Strat or Les Paul, or maybe a Strat versus Les Paul video? Do you want to see the Marshall with a pedal board? I would love to share all of that with you, so please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Otherwise, thank you so much for your support. I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. No pressure. Thank you again for watching. Peace.